that kind of sometimes get swept under the rug. But it's very important. Like Ms. West said, men and women alike, children are being affected by domestic violence, and sometimes it's hard to know what domestic violence is. Sometimes we just say, okay, if you're getting beat up, it's a physical thing. Sometimes it's the emotional thing. Sometimes you have to be able to identify when you're in that situation. Sometimes you just think this is love, or you just think that my mom and daddy did it this way and this is right. But domestic violence is domestic violence, okay? No matter weight, no, I don't care how you shape it. Okay, we have to be able to have the courage to tell somebody if you're in it. If you're having problems getting out of it because it's psychological sometimes. And it's hard to get out of it because you're in love and all this. You build stuff together and all of this. But sometimes you need just a little help to get out of it. So today I'm excited about this event. One of my speakers' son got sick, so she was not able to come. So I said I would tell my little story, which my story was mostly verbal. Again. My story was mostly emotionally and verbal. You know, tearing me down with words. It started off good. Oh, you all that in a bag of chips, and I can't believe, and you introducing me to everybody, bragging, and then it's slightly, not abruptly, it's slightly turned into a verbally abusive relationship. Oh, you stupid, you can't get nothing right. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you this, oh, you that. My kids couldn't come around. It became a restrictive type situation. Oh, your family jealous of you, but it was really a plan just to keep me at home, just with him. And sometimes we buy into all these different conversations with the person we love. We buy into it because we love them. But it was abuse. It was abuse. And so I just thank God that I was able to come on out of it. Got a couple of best friends that talked me through it. I got some kids that said, Mama, we coming to get you. So, I mean, psychological, emotional, verbal, all of that it's a part of domestic violence. And I know sometimes, like I say, we say, I love this person. I want to care for this person and they need me and all of this. So we also got to figure out what is our attachment to that situation as well. When you identify what your attachment to it is, you're also able to see clearly a clear path and a clear way out. All right. So my daughter came. I was gonna sing, but I called her. I said, "Girl, come sing for me." So she got a song she's gonna sing for you guys today. So give her a hand clap as she comes.
How y'all doing? My mom asked me to speak on experience I had. I'm not gonna say too much, but when you're in it, you don't realize you're in it, and everybody on the outside is telling you this is going on, and this is not good for you, but you just feel like I can prove that this can work. So sometimes you just gotta look past the person you created in your head and the person you fell in love with and realize who they are and take everything for what it is. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you will heal. Speak over yourself
Encourage yourself in the Lord. Oh, 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 sometimes you have to speak the word over yourself. Depression is all around, but God is a present help where the enemy created walls. But remember, giants, they do fall. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Oh, oh, oh. Beautiful. That was beautiful. All right, yes. You gotta encourage yourself. Y'all was, like she said, you have to be able to see a person or see a situation for what it really is. You know, it's important. It's important. Um, so you want to introduce the speaker or you? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Miss West's gonna come and bring our speaker up because she knows more about it than I do.
Somebody gonna hype me up. Mr. James gonna hype me up every time. Okay, so my name is Elisha West. I'm the case manager here. So I'll speak from personal experience. I personally have been affected by domestic violence. Nobody in my family did. You know what? I take that back because now that I have been more so awakened to, thanks to Miss Cynthia Jenkins, my mom did experience domestic violence. To me, it may not have been brutal. Like they say, you don't got to get beat up. It could be in subtle ways. And I too experienced domestic violence towards the end of my relationship, and I didn't really uh, feel as though I was like, oh, he didn't beat me up, so I kind of felt like I was taking on something that other women probably had worse, and I kind of, Miss Cynthia helped me understand that yours may not be as worse as somebody else's, but you still went through it. So she has done training for us as far as case management. She is a part of the coordinating council for Harris County of domestic violence, and just the way that she speaks, the way that she kind of changes your perspective about it. It's not one sided. It's not, it's just the reality of it. Very matter of fact, very, you know, not even speaking from a victim standpoint, just from a what you got through standpoint. And so when I heard her speak, I think it was the second time. I've been here a year, and we did like 2 trainings with Miss Jenkins, I believe, and it was just so inspirational to me. And I felt like it was very important for me to have at least her come out so I could contribute in some way other than just cookies and cake. Okay, so would you guys please just a round of applause for Miss Cynthia Jenkins. Cookies and cake is important. All right. Well, thank you very much, Miss West. So, how much time we got? 20 minutes. Well, we can, I did it to 3. I wasn't sure how long people were going to come. Okay. Okay. 10, maybe 15 minutes. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Because as I was sitting here, it's one thing to do a training, and since we have such an intimate group, I was going to say everybody just got to come a little bit closer because I had my shower today. And we can just have some Q&A and just some talk. So would you prefer a very polished presentation, or should we just come together and just talk? Because when it's an intimate group, that's what's coming up for me. Let's have a conversation. All right. So just come a little bit closer. Don't let me have not use that dial soap for nothing today. Kind of create a little circle. Everybody move in one. Thank you, Mr. Stone. And while you're coming a little bit closer, I'll tell you about my organization that I work for.
Again, I'm with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. We are not a part of Harris County as far as getting those good benefits. That's just the name of our organization. We've been around since 1996, and we are what is considered a coordinated community response, and it is a model used on a national basis to bring together systems. And so systems being the healthcare, law enforcement, social services, faith-based community, criminal justice, government, and corporate America. And you may say, well, why do we want to bring all those people together when it comes to domestic violence? Well, the reason we want to bring all those systems together is what we know is that only about 33% of sexual assaults and domestic violence is ever reported. Who do we usually report domestic violence and sexual assault to? Police. The police, right? The popo. But the popo only getting 33% of them cases. So that means how many cases do they not get? What's the percentage?
63.
67. Okay. It could be 90, but 67%, because we know that 33% get reported, and only 67% of people are not reported. Side note, I'm gonna do a couple of side notes here. I had the opportunity to work out of the Harris County Sheriff's Office Family Violence Unit off of, oh God, I can't believe this right now, but at any rate, I've been doing this work for 30 years, and my story is I was 12 when I started, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay? So, all my work has been done around advocacy. You're working in shelters, and we have these conversations. Why did the police do that? Why didn't the police do that? And then I had the opportunity for a year and a half to walk with the Family Violence Unit on Lockwood. I had a chance for a year and a half to work out of that unit, and it helped me to really understand what may seem like the police are not doing anything. The reality is that the way our laws are set, many times their hands are tied when it comes to issues of domestic violence. You may see the police come out and then nobody gets arrested. Well, here's the reality. Is that no one has a physical mark on them, if there has not been physical violence, there will not be an arrest. What will happen is refer for additional investigation. So it's not that they don't take it serious, but according to the Texas Penal Code, they cannot arrest someone just because they call you a fat ASSB. Okay? That ain't happening. So having that understanding. So the idea of having a coordinated community response is that if only 33% are actually calling domestic violence programs and calling law enforcement, that there is opportunity for the workplace to respond to domestic violence. Because there was a study done that said that in the top 10 concerns of human resources is domestic violence. During the height of the pandemic, there was a few homicides that actually happened in the workplace. One that went viral was the pastor out of Florida. I don't know if any of y'all remember that back in 2020, 2021. His wife was getting ready to leave him. The family came over and they're moving all their stuff out. They're videoing it. It went viral on Facebook. And a couple weeks later, he actually shot her. He went to her job and shot her point blank in the back of her head. When she fell to the ground, he pumped her with some more bullets. That is not uncommon. So what we know is that the workplace should be responding to the issue of domestic violence. That if you're in an abusive relationship, the workplace should have some type of response. There should be some type of protection. We also saw, I think, at least 2 or 3 homicides that happened in the church house. But the abuser came to the church house. So pastors and imams and priests, they should be talking about domestic violence. Because it does happen in the church. It does happen in the mosque. Being saved, no matter what God you choose to serve, does not take away the fact that if someone has an abusive personality or they are harmful. So the church needs to be talking about it. All faith-based institutions need to be talking about it. The workplace needs to be talking about it. I just got out of a training with educators, college and universities, 2 young women, actually 1 woman and 1 trans man, talking about what happened to them and how the systems had failed them. Did you know that 1 in 5 girls who go away to college their freshman year will be sexually assaulted? So schools need to be talking about this. All right? In social services, this is part of a social services program. You may have come to Allies and Hope for one thing, but here is the reality, is that we know that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 9 men are in abusive relationships. So you may come for one service, but here's the reality. We want to train those who are working in these social service programs how to do a deeper dive and to find out, do you have abuse taking place in your life? Why? Because one of the things we want to do is to make sure that survivors of domestic violence have access to services. So she or he may never go call law enforcement, they may never go to a crisis center, but they're going to work. That supervisor needs to know the signs of domestic violence. When you go in for your well woman, and I keep trying to say we need to get a well man exam. How do we get a well woman? Y'all don't get no well man exam? What's up with that?
They don't.
They don't. What's up? What? Y'all should be mad.
It's required for men over 30, between 30 and 35. It's like recommended to get like a prostate exam, but that's the only thing.
Well, we got to keep y'all healthy.
They don't have like an annual thing like we do.
Yeah, we got to keep y'all brothers healthy. So when you go in, your doctor should be asking you about your relationship. Why should the doctor be asking you about your relationship? It's because what we know is that issues like diabetes, I'm diabetic, and I can go on and on and on, so you'll have to wave the flag pretty soon. But diabetes can be related back to being in an abusive relationship. Diabetes can be related back to witnessing domestic violence as children. There's something called adverse childhood experience. Anybody ever heard of that? Adverse childhood experience. Well, if you got your phones, pull it out and Google that stuff. Adverse childhood experience is about when we experience a trauma between the ages of 0 to 18. And some of those traumas include watching your mama get busted in the face with a baseball bat. That's traumatic. Case in point, young man, I was going to the health clinic because one of the things we want to know, especially in communities of color, why help-seeking behavior is down. When we talk about help-seeking behavior, that means asking for help. So this young man, I'm having a conversation with, he's about 25, 26 years old, and what he shares with me is watching his mother be beat down. He says, my stepfather beat her like she was a full-grown man. And he was like 8 or 9 when this happened. Now here's the thing, I don't know this young man from nothing. My first time meeting him. But as he's sharing this story with me, this young brother begins to break down and cry. And he said it's almost as though I'm still standing there watching my mom get beat. And there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. Another man, as I was at a church talking, he shared about how his father had been in the military, and he eventually went into the military. And he talked about his mom coming and fixing breakfast and putting it on the table. And he seeing that both her eyes were swollen shut, purple. And he said, I'm asking Mama what happened. And she said nothing. And he's like, why's she gonna lie to me? And this man was in his 40s. But he talked about the impact that had on him. And I'm going to go ahead and tie in sexual abuse. Another man, because someone asked me, was I only talking about what happens to women? Here's a sidebar. The reality is when we talk about domestic violence and sexual assault, they are, for the most part, women's issues. And I make no apologies about saying that. However, I believe that the backlash that we did not pay attention to women's issues is that it's now impacting men. Because we did not save the women first. Okay? So, lost my train of thought there. Black men versus women. Oh, so talking about, well, I'll pick up on adverse childhood experience, but this gray hair is jacking my system. So talk about the adverse childhood experience, that what happens to us between that ages of 0 to 18 has the young man, that's where I was. No, this is an older man, and then I'm going to keep it moving. This gentleman was in his 70s, and I was doing a 6-week group. And he was very quiet the first 4 sessions. Session 5, though, he said, I wasn't sure about coming to this class. He was the only man in the class. And here's the thing, I was doing this group at a senior citizen community. And he said, I wasn't sure about coming to this class, but what he finally was able to release on week 4, or week 5, was that he had been the victim of childhood sexual abuse. And his stepfather had repeatedly sexually assaulted him from the ages of, I think, 8 until he was a teenager. And what he shared is that he had been married 4 times and that he had never chosen to have children. Because he said, when I was growing up, we didn't talk about child sexual abuse, and we definitely didn't talk about men being sexually abused. And he said, he had a vasectomy so that he could not reproduce.
Wow.
Because he said, I didn't ever want that to happen to my son. Okay? Again, keeping in mind the things that happen to us in childhood that we are told to forget. But those things actually create the pattern for our life if we do not interrupt that pattern. Are you tracking that? 4 times being married, and he said, I don't know how to love. I don't know how to trust. So, does witnessing abuse in the home have an impact? Yes, it does. And so, every chance I get, I talk about adverse childhood experience. Because I believe that one of the ways to prevent violence from happening in our adulthood is to address the trauma that our children witness and endure as children. We know that witnessing abuse as a child, and it's not only abuse, it could be growing up in a home where your parents divorce. That's a trauma. I went through a total of 3 divorces with my parents. That's a trauma. That you used to having somebody in the house, and then all of a sudden you're told, Mama not gonna live there no more, Daddy not gonna live there no more. It is a trauma to never know who your mother or father is. It is a trauma to live in a home where one or both of your parents are in prison. It is a trauma to go to bed at night and not know where your next meal is coming from. It is a trauma to witness a parent using drugs and alcohol. And these are things that happen to everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomics. And so imagine the fact that most people, I'm going to say about 75% of people start out being impacted by trauma. Because I hate to break it down to you, I don't think Legion of People lives here anymore. And I'm not sure they ever did. So if we start out with this trauma, if we start out like that man in his 70s saying, I chose to never procreate, I chose to have a vasectomy because I know the reality of family life. And I want to make sure that my son or my daughter never is abused. And if we have people out here with that mindset, if we have children like the young man who has his mother come and serve breakfast with her eyes closed shut, face all purple, and when he asks her mama what's wrong, she says nothing. A lot of lessons are learned there. It's learned that home is not safe. It's learned that we must keep secrets. Okay? As a young man, you may learn that that's what you do to the woman that you love, is that you beat her. Okay? And the young women that I talk to, they learn, and in fact, I can't tell you how many students have told me, well, miss, that's just the way life is. And we may shake our heads, we may say no, but the reality is for many people, for 30 to 40% of people living in Houston and surrounding Harris County, and even on an international basis, I've traveled to Tobago, I've traveled to West Africa, and the conversation is always the same. So, how we start. I want to start seeing us have a conversation about how do we break that generational violence that occurs in families. Because families should be a safe place. And depending on what your belief system, my belief system is I am Christian, and here's the reality, is that the first murder happened where? In the family. The first act of violence was in the family. So we've been trying to break that cycle since the beginning of time, depending on your belief system. And one of the ways we break that cycle is having conversations about what constitutes a healthy relationship. So I want to end in talking about cultivating healthy relationships. I'm going to start over here talking about what is considered domestic violence. So domestic violence is when you are in a relationship, whether you are married, used to be married, dating, used to be dating. Okay? And in that relationship, one person exercises power and control. What does that mean when I say power and control? And again, this is the conversation. I need y'all to talk back to me. Clap back. When you hear the phrase power and control, what comes up for you? Oh, fear. Love it. Fear? Why fear? Fear. Okay. That's a good manipulation. So fear. So manipulation, very good. So when we talk about power and control, that means that a person is living in an environment where they are afraid. They are living in an environment where the truth is being twisted. Okay? So, in an abusive relationship, one person is using fear and manipulation to gain power and control over the other person in that relationship. So, what does that look like? Well, there are 8 tactics that those who cause harm in their relationships use. And it only takes one. Everybody say one. That's all it takes to keep somebody in an abusive relationship. One, you've already shared about it, the verbal and emotional abuse. You so ugly, you so black, you so white. The trans man who spoke is of Hispanic and African American lineage. And so what he talked about is that in his community, even though he is part Hispanic, he talked about the fact that he was still not light enough. Because we still live in this colorism world, right? Not light enough to fit in with his Hispanic background. Okay? And so talk about verbal emotional abuse. So it's your hair too nappy, your hair too straight, you too fat, you need another cupcake, you're gonna need your own zip code. And we can kind of chuckle about that, but ask yourself. I'm not gonna ask anybody to raise their hands to out themselves with anything that you've endured, and also I'm gonna say trigger warning. So at any point that this conversation gets to the point you're like, oh no, sister girl, I'm just the lead. Go ahead, because I want you to take care of yourself and protect yourself first of all. Okay? So, but that verbal and emotional abuse, I did recently share with the group. I'm a chubby girl, right? And I was recently sharing with people that I had an aunt. I was dancing one day. I had to be at least 11 or 12 years old. She said, "You don't sit your fat self down." She goes, "You too fat and big to be jumping around here trying to dance." I'm 57 years old, and I still have a hard time dancing in front of people. Don't tell me that words aren't powerful. Once.
I don't know what it was. In high school, one of my teachers said, when you hear one good thing, it's me. But when you hear one negative thing, you need to hear the opposite of that at least 20 times to get it out of your mental. No matter how small it is. If it resonates with you, you have to hear the opposite of that at least 20 times for it to get out of your head.
Exactly. And okay, I got a lot of information. I be going to pour it out. So we're gonna stop there with the verbal and emotional abuse. We get it. So here's the thing. Each day I challenge myself. In fact, I will do affirmations. And so my affirmation lately has been I use my words to encourage. Because I got a mouth on me. I come from a family. We will rip you up. We will rip you a new one, honey. And then as women, we really have that power to rip you a new hole. Yeah, come on. I keep it honest. Because the words are what we have more power with. Men have more power in their fists, but our tongue will rip you apart. So we go to what is our power and control, right? So verbal and emotional abuse, that's one tactic that persons who cause harm use. Another tactic that they use is isolation. You talked about not having your children around. So what may happen in a relationship is that either partner, whether it's the man or the woman, that they will start saying, well, no, we're not going over to your mama's house for Thanksgiving because she ain't never liked me. Now, if you want to go, you can go, baby. Well, 9 times out of 10, you don't want to go without your partner, right? And so, little by little, they're tearing you away from your family. They're tearing you, oh, well, baby, I got to go on a business trip. Do you really got to go on a business trip? That Miss West, I be seeing how she be eyeing you. Yeah, I bet y'all gonna be doing some business. And so you start saying, well, I can't do out of town trips. And you may even position yourself, unfortunately, to be fired from that job because you aren't able to perform the essential functions of going out of town because Miss Alicia over there is going, I bet y'all going to a conference. I got your conference. And that is a part of isolation. Language. If you are engaged with someone, if you're involved with someone and English is not their first language. And I can't tell you how many of those cases that we've had. That and many times when I'm training law enforcement officers, and they'll say, "Well, we got there and nobody could speak. She couldn't speak English. He couldn't speak English, and we don't understand because we got all these ESL classes." Well, here's the thing: we may have free ESL classes on every corner in Houston and Harris County, but they're only free if you can get to them. Everybody catch that? They're only free if you can get to them. Yeah. So if you are, the next thing we're going to talk about is isolation. So there's verbal and emotional abuse. There is the isolation piece that you're not even allowed to go to those ESL classes. You're not allowed to hang out with family and friends. I can't tell you how many times in 30 years I've heard survivors tell me that it even got to the point that I wouldn't even go visit my male cousins and brothers or my father because when I got home, he would ask to sniff my panties. Are you tracking me? So it gets to the point that she doesn't want to go visit her father, her brothers, or her male cousins. And all of that is done to make sure that she does not have a support system. And the same thing can be happening for men. That, hey, let me check them DVDs, homie. You said you went to go visit your mom or your sister, but I ain't so sure. Oh, it get deep and dirty up in this camp. Yes.
I was going to say another way that they try, I know they try to use isolation is they're trying to say, turn your friends against you, right? Like trying to say, oh, she just or not even really knowing your friends, but thinking that just because y'all may have a discussion, you may had a conversation with him about something y'all disagreed on, something that y'all didn't disagreed on before you met him multiple times. He'll turn it into, oh, you don't need to hang out with her no more. He may call your friends, my name is Cole.
Yes.
Say, you don't need to hang out with them. You in a relationship, they single, those type of things, along with maybe even calling you, well, maybe we want to be single too. You know what I'm saying? Things like that just kind of make you not want to, like, oh, be intimacy with exclusive. I don't want to go back to that. Make it seem like that's the better option.
And just not wanting to rock the boat, right? So we've got verbal emotional abuse, isolation. Then we have minimizing, denying, and blaming. And most people these days, the new generation is calling it, what's that word? Gaslighting. Now, baby, now, I know I got cologne on me, but I work around all those men, or you smell perfume, I got all those women, or, I didn't really say that. I think you need your medication. Okay? And so what happens, and so let me go through these. So with the verbal and emotional abuse, the survivor in that relationship begins to think that they are ugly, they're stupid, they're too fat, I can't speak good English, you name it. They start being down on themselves. With the isolation, they start to believe that I have no support, I have no one I can turn to. With the minimizing, denying, and blaming, the survivor begins to think that, it's my fault. That maybe if I had put it on them like they wanted me to put it on them, they wouldn't have got mad at me and said all those nasty things. Okay, come on, I keep it real. We got all grown folks in the house, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Or here's the thing: I can't, even though I haven't had a good bowel movement in almost 2 weeks, I can't go to the doctor because then they're going to get upset because I'm using the health insurance and they're going to say that I'm just a hypochondriac. So the survivor will even begin to minimize their own health issues.
Wow.
Are you tracking me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Sexual abuse when the partner uses sex against you, like it's not giving you enough.
That's definitely, most definitely. And so I'll go ahead and move this up to the information I'm giving you is from the power and control bill, and I don't know if you have a copy of it or if you can and if you can distribute that to everyone, you don't have to do it today, but at some point. So on the original power and control bill that was created in 1984, the genesis of all of this work was about men's violence against women, and it continues to be about men's violence against women. However, we are seeing an uptick in males who are being in abusive relationships. And again, I think because we didn't take care of the first half of the story, now we got the second half of the story. So there's something called male privilege. Now, because we understand it, because I have a male relative who was in an abusive relationship and the abuser was a woman, we call it decision-making privilege. But to bring in what you just said, that part around male privilege is that depending on what your faith belief is, that the woman's body belongs to the man if you're married. Okay? And I'm a minister on top of everything else. So I'm going to say that some of that is true, but you got to get the right context. Because if I love you like I love myself, I'm not going to pry your legs apart. I had somebody who called me from out of the country, and she goes, it's weird. You see it? She says, it's weird. I've had 2 women share with me that they think they're being drugged by their husbands. Come on now. Sexual assault happens within the context of marriage and ongoing relationships. Sexual abuse happens. Human trafficking is intertwined with domestic violence. Girl, we got to pay these bills, so I need you to put it out there. And you're my wife, but you got to look at these bills, so I need you to go on down here on Belford. This and that. I've totally shut it down. Okay? Are you tracking me? That is a form of sexual violence. That if you are being forced to sell your body, years ago, through the city of Houston, they had a panel of those individuals who are positive for HIV and AIDS. Overwhelmingly, every woman on that panel had a story of domestic violence. In an abusive relationship, you are not free to negotiate safe sex. I know my man, I know my woman is out there with everybody around, and they are right and wrong. Again, we're going to keep it real. And I'm saying, I know you're going to make me do this, but can you at least put a condom on? Well, hell no. Who you been giving it up to? It's not like who I've been giving it up to. It's who you've been giving it up to. Another woman on the panel also had to have an emergency hysterectomy. Not even 6 weeks, I think she was 3 weeks postpartum, had just come out of the hospital 3 weeks. He said, your body belongs to me. And she said, I haven't gone for my checkup yet. Please, please. He sexually assaulted her, and she had to have an emergency hysterectomy. Okay, we wrap it up. So, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go through all 8 of them, because I want to be mindful of time. So as I put out there what domestic violence is, economic abuse, I can't leave that one out. Economic abuse, that's where your partner maybe gets credit in your name. Both of the people who spoke today on our panel, the young woman and the young trans man, their partners have access to their social security numbers. Do you recognize the damage that can be done by that? Okay? One of the other women that goes out and speaks with me, she had a 700 and something credit score. By the time she left her partner who was abusing her, she had a whole 300. He had gotten her information, was buying things in her name. Now, any of the things that I've talked about, nobody got their butt kicked. But there was verbal and emotional. You stupid, you ugly. There was isolation. You can't go see your mama. You can't go see your daddy. You can't go to work. Minimizing, denying, and blaming, making you think you're crazy. So domestic violence is not always about getting a black eye. Is it a part of it? It can be. My understanding is that when the person realizes that they cannot break you down, that's when they will break you physically. But if I can keep your mind trapped and make you think that you are stupid, ugly, nobody else will ever want you. If I can keep you economically dependent upon me. All right? So we're going to take a quick pause, and I need you to talk back to me if you have questions.
Control of money, comparing you to the children.
And so here's the thing. In the domestic violence movement, we love Will. Those who are in leadership and ministry, the isolation, the verbal and emotional abuse. And the underpinning of all of this is about not having healthy relationships, period. Anybody? Yes.
When one gets beat up, like one gets beat by the man, and you see her saying, "Oh, he just hit me, slap me a little bit. He's gonna always hit you again. Once he hits you, he's gonna hit you again."
Almost definitely. I'm in agreement. If you get hit once, there will come another hit.
I live with that
Because it's about the behavior escalates.
Yes, it does.
The behavior escalates.
What I got out of it.
You have a question, sir?
Yeah, yeah. I was in a relationship, but this individual was a bipolar individual. And when she wasn't taking her medication and stuff, she was off the hook, crazy as she wanted to be. So I told her, I said, hey, I'm not going to fight you, because I'm not putting my hands on no woman in my life. I'm not going to fight you, but you got to get the hell out of here right now, because I'll be going back to the gym. You know, because you take a step out of the house, doing whatever you want to do. I see this, and I said, you got to go. Boom, she left. Come back 2 days later, can I come in? No, I don't think so. Go to your mama's house. Or something, because a month later, I got a body there. I moved all my stuff, you know, I got somewhere. I'm just trying to say, it be some relationships like that sometimes some men have to go through to make his mind out if he gonna move now, because I don't care how much we done had, but hey, you know, I can get some new stuff. You know what I mean? So that's what I did.
So, and that brings up an interesting thing. So, here's the question that I would ask, because we have domestic violence, which I would say probably 95 to 99% of the time, the things that I just talked along with some other tactics.
Yeah.
Does that person keep you from family and friends? Do they constantly call you out of your name? That is the foundation of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Now, you shared that, and we're not gonna go deep because we don't have a whole lot of time. So that may not have been quote unquote domestic violence. There's something we call situational violence, and because of her mental health status. Now, she was doing those things even when she was taking medication, like maybe calling you out your name, maybe getting stuff in your. So then it would be domestic violence, and then it is exacerbated by the mental health crisis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you have to take it all into consideration.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, whether it's a man that's doing it or a woman, we want to interrupt that behavior. Because at the end of the day, here's something else I need you to know. The Texas Council on Family Violence, they take the statistics every year from the last year of how many Texans passed away because of domestic violence. And 216 individuals in the state of Texas died in 2022. I think the oldest was 67 and the youngest was in their teens. Our organization, we want to go out in the community and have these conversations, because whether it's the person causing the harm or the survivor, there's a 50-50 chance one of y'all going to end up 6 feet under. And that's for real. And I applaud you, whether it was domestic violence or because of her mental health, that you made a decision. I deserve better. You made a decision to walk away. Now, walking away is not always an easy thing because of the things that I was talking about. And if you're in a relationship where your partner is constantly tearing you down, it's hard to decide to leave that relationship when you think you're stupid, ugly, nobody's ever going to hire you. When you are in a relationship and the person is constantly keeping all family and friends away, how do you go and tell your father, your mother, your sister, your cousin, your best friend that you ever talked to in 1 year that you need help? That's a hard swallow. If you don't have the ability, and I've worked with nurses who are making 6 figures a year, but because of the economic abuse, their partners were having their checks direct deposited to their account. So even though I'm an educated woman, I've got my nurse practitioner license, I'm making $150,000 a year, but all of my money is being direct deposited to my husband or my wife's account, and I'm on an allowance. Because I'd like to also get rid of the myth that only happens to poor folks. That's a lot from hell. There are people living in gated communities that are in abusive relationships. So how do I start over when my partner has all my money? I got to go through HR. I got to do all the paperwork before I can even have access to my next check. Even though my next check may be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, I don't get that on the 5th because I've got to go through all the paperwork in HR to get things changed around. Okay? So, lots of information. Any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and jump into healthy relationships because I believe that that is how we start preventing this issue from happening. And I personally don't believe that we're going to end domestic violence. What I think we can do is decrease it. And that when I'm talking to young people who are 10, 11, and 12 years old, they don't tell me that that's what a normal life is. That's the part I want to get rid of. So in talking about what constitutes a healthy relationship, there are 4 things that you can start working on today to begin to have a healthy relationship. Number 1 is setting boundaries. And you did that. So tell me your first name.
George.
George, you did that. You set a boundary. You said, no, you cannot treat me any kind of way. You cannot tear my apartment up. You cannot throw stuff. I deserve better than that. You set a boundary. You cannot lie to me. And those are the things we need to be teaching to our children as well, and modeling for our children. Because if we tell our children we're going to do something and then we don't do it, we're teaching them to accept lies. We're teaching them to accept that people don't keep their word. And every time I have this conversation, I have to look back and think about what kind of mother was I. And on a scale of 0 to 3, I was probably a 1.75 as I go through each one of these. Because here's the thing, when you don't know better, but when you know better, you do better. So keeping your word with your children. Because we teach our children not to expect anything. Oh child, she lying, he lying. I had a girl tell me one time, child, my mama looks she lying. So how then do I go into a healthy relationship that if I believe that everything coming out of your mouth is a lie to me? How can I truly love and trust you when my mindset is really telling me you a lie and the truth ain't in you? Are you tracking me? So having healthy boundaries in a relationship. Secondly, is about equality. And equality is about give and take. It's not about 50-50. George is the best in the kitchen. Homeboy can throw down oxtails, pound cake. And I happen to be really good at fixing cars. Now, that's a lie on my part. I don't know about you, George, but that's a lie on my part. But I'm trying to make a point here. So in our relationship, you think I can throw down. So in a relationship, I shouldn't expect just because George is a man that he should fix my car. And George shouldn't expect, because I'm a woman, I'm going to fix the meals. It's about us coming together and saying, George, you're 90% better than I am with cooking, and I'm 90% better than you with fixing the car. So here's the thing. I'm going to keep the cars in shape. You make sure we have plenty to eat, and I'll come behind you and cook and clean. It's about George being able to come to me and say, Fisher, you know what? I want to go see XYZ movie. And I'm like, oh, George, I don't want to see it. He's like, no, who paying? You go out and take your behind. That is not equality in a relationship. Okay? So it's about each of you having voice. All right? So we've got boundaries, we've got equality, then communication. Ask yourself, what is my freedom to be able to speak up in my relationship? Going back to the example I gave of the woman who, as a result, HIV positive because her partner would not negotiate safe sex with her. Women who have told me that, I wanted to speak up. I think about the color purple, and I think she was looking at her feet, and she goes, I want to move, but I can't move. I can't say nothing. I can't. And that happens in relationships. And if you're in a relationship where you feel as though you can never speak up, I can never say that, I don't want to wear a, whatever shape that is, the camo. I got a camo dress and a camo jacket at home, so go camo. But for this example, he's saying, I need you to wear camo all the time. No, baby, I don't want to wear camo all the time. And he's okay with it. It's not, if you really love me, you wear camo. You think you're better than me so you don't want that camo? Shut your mouth, don't you ever tell me. You know how much I paid for that camo dress I bought you? I paid $50 for that camo dress. You better put that dress on. And then I'm like, well, I bet I never say anything to him about it. That's not healthy. That if we are in an intimate relationship, and I'm telling him, when you kiss me on my neck, it tickles me, and I don't know, I feel funny about it. And really, what it is that I have a repressed memory of the person who sexually abused me as a child. And that becomes a trigger. But if he's saying, I love you how I want to love you, that's not communication. So if your partner is saying, I don't like it when you do this, I don't like it when you do that, it makes me uncomfortable. Part of communication is saying, okay, babe, so show me what you do like. Are you tracking me? And when our children come to us and say, I don't know, Uncle so-and-so make me feel funny. Ain't so and so make me feel funny. Oh, shut your mouth. How many times do we tell our children that? Shut your mouth. Hear that child out. Hear that child out. Because you're teaching them it's okay to advocate for myself. It's okay to say when I don't feel good about something. And then the final one is self-esteem. How do you feel about yourself? Because here's the thing, what I know firsthand experience is that when you don't truly love you, when you look in that mirror and you don't like what you see, it is very hard to establish boundaries. If I don't think that I'm worthy of love, if I don't think that I'm worthy of praise, I have a real hard time saying, don't call me a fat ASSB. Because I don't even think I'm worthy enough to tell you that. When I don't love me, when I don't like me, I cannot demand equality in a relationship. I can't say, George, I love you. However, you cannot make all the decisions in this relationship. If you want to make all the decisions, then I need to not be here. I have a mind too. I want the best for you, just like you want the best for me. Let's meet in the middle. But if I don't feel good about Felicia, I can't have that conversation, which moves into the other one, communication. That if I don't feel good about me, that if I don't think I have something worth saying, then I just keep my mouth shut. So practicing on those four things on a daily basis, and it is a daily battle. I'm married, and sometimes I'm just like, count to 10, Felicia, count to 10. Because it's so easy for them negative words to come out your mouth. It's so easy. I like, what? And realize that you're killing your partner with your words. Right? It's hard work being in relationships. I had a friend tell me, it ain't no such thing as being hard work to be in a relationship. You're not really in love if it's hard work. Nah, baby, it's hard work being in a relationship. Because it's a lot easier to cuss folks out. It's a lot easier to be a bully. It's a lot easier to make folks do what you want to do than to come together and reason. And to allow that person in that relationship to grow. If you're in a relationship where you're not being encouraged to grow, that may not be the healthiest place for you. If you got a habit, and they're like, oh, just one little swallow won't hurt, one little puff won't hurt, that's not a healthy place to be. Because when I love you, I want you to be at your best. So I think probably my time is out. I hope that something was said that is beneficial. Thank you for allowing me to come out.
First of all, I'm just saying, Thesia, you know you could correct me. Correct somebody every time they get your name wrong. Thesia, okay?
I'm working on that self-esteem part.
Yeah, correct me every time.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a little closing remark thing. I'm gonna read a poem. Miss Jackson is going to sing because when I tell y'all she got pipes, and then we're gonna close out. I want to thank everybody. We did go a little over, but I was gonna push 3:30 anyway. So I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. So this poem is called "I Got Flowers Today." So this is like a very, very, very popular poem. Okay, I googled it. Okay, so here we go. It says, "I got flowers today. It wasn't my birthday or any other special day. We had our first argument last night, and he said a lot of cruel things that really hurt. I know that he is sorry and didn't mean to say the things he said because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't for our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he threw me into a wall and started to choke me. It seemed like a nightmare. I couldn't believe that it was real. I woke up this morning sore and bruised all over. I know he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he threw me into a wall and then started choking me. It seemed unreal, a nightmare, but you wake up from nightmares. And I woke up this morning sore and bruised all over. But I know he is sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. And it wasn't Valentine's Day or any other special day. Last night he beat me and threatened to kill me. Makeup and long sleeves don't have the cuts and bruises this time. I couldn't go to work today because I didn't want anyone to know. But I know he's sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. and it wasn't Mother's Day or any other special holiday. Last night he beat me again, and it was worse than all of the other times. If I leave him, what will I do? How will I take care of the kids? What about money? I'm afraid of him, but I'm too scared and independent to leave. But he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. Today was a special day. It was the day of my funeral. Last night he killed me. If only I would have gathered the courage and strength to leave him, I could have received help from the women's shelter. But I didn't ask for their help. So I got flowers today for the last time. That's by Paulette Kelly. So I say that to say this: if you see something, say something. Okay? You if you see something, say something. Okay, that's for anybody. If a friend or family member is acting a little strange, you know they got into a new relationship. That's normally not how they acted in their past relationships. A lot of times in African American communities, brown communities, we kind of mind our business. That's not my business. I'm gonna stay away. But sometimes you got to be in people's business because that might be the last time that you can get in their business. You know. So I'm gonna give it to Miss Jackson. And then we will close out. Thank you so much, Miss Tisha. As always, she knows how to carry the conversation. She knows how to get details. You can tell when people are passionate about what they do, and I appreciate you for that and your passion. Clean that up back there, y'all. Eat that. I'm not taking that back upstairs. All right. I feel like growing on. I feel like going on, no trials come on. Hey, every hand. I feel like going on. I feel like pressing on. I feel like pressing on. Though trials come on. Every hand. I feel like going on.
Oh,
Well, I followed you.
Mama.